Bloody hell, this has been a strange week. The last video, when I was initially tweeting about the David Blaine story, somebody claiming to be I don't know if they claimed or just pretending to be a family member of his, with the name and everything, was thanking me for posting my skepticism about it, even though I never went out and said that this is false or true. But whatever. I mean, it's just so weird. I mean, let alone all these accusations that are come flying out. But anyway, this is again returning to David Blaine, and this is about the TYT response to the story. And as you can probably tell, it is going to be very predictable. So guys, prepare for some anger here, because it's not necessarily that he's guilty or innocent that annoys me. It's more the fact that they jump to the conclusions they listen and believe. So everybody, tune in. I don't have much time for this, so let's see how bad it really is.
David Blaine has been accused of rape by a former model. This is coming from the Daily Beast. Here are the details. Natasha Prince claims Blaine raped her at a private home in London's Chelsea neighborhood in the summer of 2004, months after her 21st birthday. She told the Daily Beast in her first ever interview on the subject. Officers from the Met's Child Abuse and Sexual Offences Command are investigating an allegation of rape, Scotland Yard said in a statement to the Daily Beast. The allegation was reported to police on 17 November 2016 by a woman who alleged she was raped at an address in Chelsea in June or July 2004 when she was age 21. There have been no arrests at this stage, and inquiries continue. Now, Blaine's attorney, Marty Singer, has vehemently denied all the allegations of any misconduct with the individual, although they do acknowledge that they did know each other at one point in time.
Grace, my love, how you doing? You look a little bit different. As working in Domino's aged you somewhat. It's okay. Being unemployed aged me too. This is why I've got grey hairs here and there and stuff like that. It's okay. Also, nice to see you rocking the red flannel. Love it. I would be wearing flannel today, but it's in the wash. So yeah. Anyway, what have you got to say about David Blaine?
The allegations are incredibly graphic. She says that she was at a party and she was flirting with Blaine, and then at one point in time they went up to have a drink, and then the next thing she knew, he was anally penetrating her.
She forgets one part, that he asked her to kiss him and she kissed him, and then she conveniently forgets all the things that happened afterwards, and then next thing you know they're having anal sex. And to be fair, I don't remember her saying she outright flirted with him. Although I guess one could imagine that to be the case, and one could interpret her words as flirting. So yeah, she also did say that she was very much interested in him sexually. That's what she meant. And who knows, maybe she did have sex with him consensually and has decided that she regretted it because this could have been cheating on her boyfriend at the time, or other things. We do not know. It could have been rape. But I would not call it graphic. In fact, she doesn't actually say anal. In fact, the journalist puts it in there. I think that's what she meant, but she never mentioned it. She doesn't go into big detail, and anal sex is fairly common anyway, so
And that she just says that she felt I was limp and I was very floaty, in and out of sleep. What's important to note—
actually, that was after the sex happened. When she woke up, she explicitly says that. You are trying to change events here. You read out only part of the article and are expecting your audience, who are mostly mindless SJWs, to not read the article and figure that out. Interesting, already they're lying. God, we're not even 1 minute into the video.
Notice that there is no statute of limitations for sex crimes in Britain, and when it comes to the evidence, she points to a conversation that she had with an ex-boyfriend, but who was her boyfriend at the time in 2004.
I would just like to point out, Grace, do you not think that's a little bit suspicious? That maybe, just maybe, this is why she's doing this, because she cheated on him? Maybe that could be a possibility. Now, I do not know if that's what has genuinely happened. She could well be telling the truth. He could well be lying. David Blaine could well be lying. It could be any. I do not know. But from experience in seeing all these public allegations, unless it's got evidence behind it, say for example Jimmy Savile, there was evidence behind him being a horrible paedophile, and also there's evidence that Harvey Weinstein did what he did. There was a recording, and also there's evidence, and this is actually a woman doing this, Laura Loomer recently on the other side of the spectrum, stalking a man and being very creepy towards him. I mean, That's a whole other video, but Jim already did one, so I don't need to do that. But usually when there is no evidence, when there's nothing to back it up, it's just their word and it's in public and it's long after the fact, there usually is some kind of ulterior motive behind it, and it usually comes out to be false, or the people who are accused are found innocent. Now that could be many different things. It could be that they didn't do anything, or it could be that there's simply no evidence because the women or men left it far too late and their window of opportunity of proving this crime is now gone. But you're not going to do that, are you, TYT? Grace, you are going to let me down. You are going to listen and believe, aren't you? You're already lying.
When she alleges the rape took place, in a series of direct text messages on Instagram, this boyfriend reminded Prince of that crazy weird situation with David Blaine after we broke up, that he made a move on you in bed, like he forced himself on you. You told me how you ended up in his bed and he was trying on stuff. When asked why it took 13 years for her to tell police, Prince told the Daily Beast, and I think this is really important. You hear this a lot from survivors of sexual assault.
Yeah, you hear it from survivors. Right. I think we mostly hear this from feminists and progressives who have an agenda to push. But hey, you know what? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Grace.
Quote, you have to understand my interpretation was that it was my fault. I didn't think of it as rape. In my head, rape was being sober. Pull her in a bush, pull down her pants, and just ditch her. So I blame myself. I did like him. I was interested in him. So I didn't think about going to the police.
Do you not think that's weird? Because she's admitting to sexual attraction, and she's admitting, even in the expose, that she did consent to some kind of contact with him. They did kiss, but then she conveniently forgets what happened after that. Also, I don't know if this subscriber is still subscribed, but there was a subscriber who was a sexual assault victim, and we got to know each other a little bit, and she's an older woman, and she doesn't necessarily say that she wasn't raped. She was raped, but she, in a weird way, kind of blamed herself, but not in the way that Prince lays it out. She says that she didn't take the right precautions and thus got raped. I disagree with that. I think she couldn't have possibly known anything was going to happen, but that's her opinion. She says she's now got all the experience and know-how on how to avoid these situations, and she never once had a feeling of, oh, this is what rape is like or anything. No, she was very much aware of rape can take the form of many different ways. It's just that she didn't take the steps to kind of remove herself from a situation that could have happened. I'm desperately paraphrasing what she said to me, but basically she kind of does but doesn't blame herself. And even then it's like, you know, she's not victim blaming, she's just taking some kind of weird personal responsibility. And she's an actual victim. I'm sure if she finds this video, she can explain it to you guys much better than me. But I think she would take umbrage with this story. She would take a few issues with this. And if I do recall, she did actually call the police. So the idea that many survivors have this particular point of view, I don't know. That's only Prince's point of view. And she's trying to make it out like it's a generality. Well, again, every person's an individual. And do we actually have a survey where we talk to these victims and tell them, like, okay, so what do you think? What was your first reactions? Like, do any of these studies exist? I don't know, but again, Grace, benefit of the doubt.
Now, I think what's particularly troubling about what we're hearing out of this so early on is the lawyer representing David Blaine, who also happened to represent John Travolta, Bill Cosby, Charlie Sheen, said in a phone call, quote, anyone can make a claim, especially with this Harvey Weinstein thing.
Shock horror, he's doing his job to protect his client, and I love how she has to mention his 3 clients because we're trying to make it out that, yeah, David Blaine is guilty. He's already guilty. He is a rapist, because why else would he hire this person, even though they could well have hired him years and years and years before any of these people were his clients. We don't know that. But even then, like, yes, a situation like this can be taken advantage of. Like, in many different witch hunts, this has happened. And yes, I'm not saying that there's a witch hunt against Blaine. I'm talking about the whole rape hysteria thing. That is a witch hunt. When the Salem witch trials happened, there were people taking advantage of that to get people removed to buy their property. This happened. Likewise, during the McCarthyism era, there were people who were falsely accused of being communists so that, for whatever reason, rivals could remove them from Hollywood. That happened. It is not far-fetched to say that some people are using this to attack people they don't like, or who they feel they need revenge on for whatever reason. And even then, it's his job to make her look like she's untrustworthy, because he is a defense attorney. That is his job. But we're going to get into that again because they keep mentioning this.
Now, what's worth also noting is that she actually made this claim a full year before the Harvey Weinstein piece came out.
She filed the report a year before, but she did not go public with it. She's gone public with it after this has happened. So do you not think there is a little bit of a timing issue here? Just wondering.
I just think that it's incredibly indelicate for the lawyer of someone accused to just refer to allegations of sexual assault as the Harvey Weinstein thing.
No, he referred to the Weinstein thing, not them as the Weinstein thing. Do you read English, Grace? Come on.
We know very little about what's happening in this story, but what was your response when you heard about these allegations? Did you immediately correlate it to the Harvey Weinstein, quote unquote?
We know so very little that we already know Blaine is guilty. Also, yeah, I immediately thought about Weinstein, but also #MeToo, because there's been a lot of shit going on with that hashtag. A lot of shaming of male victims, a lot of people denying their experiences. Now look, maybe some of them are lying. I don't know. But then again, plenty of women are lying too. But just like there are plenty of actual female victims talking about their experiences, and that is genuinely helpful. But usually these people have already had their rapist put in jail, or there's evidence to show that yes, they were raped, just maybe the person wasn't caught in the end for whatever reason. We do not know. But there are legit people there. There are also a lot of illegitimate people. But hey, I keep saying this, but I'll forever be criticised for it.
The lawyer's comment struck me as him
So
just trying to muddy the water and doing it, as you say, in an indelicate way would be a polite way to put it. I mean, it's really in a crude way to somehow, I mean, this woman has been traumatized. She's coming forward now reluctantly, which is the way so many of these victims do come forward.
Oh, really now? So reluctant that they immediately get on the phone as soon as this big, massive thing just explodes. And then we get an expose on the front of Daily Beast. Right. How do you know she's telling the truth? This is just her word. There is only one police report, but even then, she's taken, 12 years to actually report it? And even then, her account is very much full of inconsistencies and coincidences, and she always forgets at just the right moment. She actively involved herself with him at several points afterwards, much like Mattress Girl, who you also defended, and yet she's supposedly a victim and he is a perpetrator based on her word alone. Doesn't make much sense. And again, the defense attorney is doing his job. He is not muddying the waters, he is defending his client, and as per usual, this is what defense attorneys do. They have to make the person who is prosecuting look untrustworthy. He is trying to defeat her arguments. That's his job. It's like they forget how law works and all these other things. They forget reality works in a specific way for their progressive politics. It's just really annoying. I wish he would stop doing that. There's a switch and it goes on and off.
And to sort of roll her into the existing atmosphere, well, you know, the Harvey Weinstein thing. I just thought it was rude.
Yeah, nobody cares about your feelings, mate, but continue white knighting.
She also tells a believable story, you know, and it's interesting.
How in any way is it believable? When you actually sit down and read it, context-wise, none of it actually makes much sense. But go on.
Grace, it's funny when we were getting to the part where she talks about she had an interest in David Blaine. It then made it murky a little bit for me. I'm thinking, well, I don't quite understand then.
So you do get it. You know there's inconsistencies here. Do you realise that possibly she may not be telling the truth and maybe David Blaine is telling the truth? We will never know for sure until Scotland Yard actually come up with something. She admits to that, and also something that you keenly ignored, you cut out from the original article, was that she did consent to some kind of sexual contact with him, and after the fact she continued to meet him on and off. There was a lot of time between some of these events, but the fact that she went to his house afterwards in a show of bravado and was probably flirting with him, or she only mentions him trying to flirt with her in a bathroom, and that was it, and then inviting him to her art gallery in 2010, something like that. Yeah, very interesting, isn't it?
I need clarity, and maybe I can get clarity from you guys on this.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get clarity from people who have only read the article that you've read, right? Okay.
So I think that's pretty common, but you have to have consent at every stage of the process.
Do you mean saying yes constantly, or do you mean saying yes once and then that's it? I'm confused. you do also realise that consent is also non-verbal. We actually don't communicate mostly through words but through body language. By the way, it's very difficult for someone like me with Asperger's because I don't really read body language very well, but that's besides the point. You do realise that her words could be saying one thing but her body could be saying another, or maybe he's misinterpreting something. A lot of these things in the story could simply be chalked up as a misinterpretation of body language and intent and other things. Who knows? The fact that you admit that she was flirting, although I didn't really get that from the article, but hey, whatever, I'm taking your words, not mine, suggests to me that there was something that made him think, okay, I can get in here. Maybe he thought he had consent when she kissed him. And again, she never mentioned saying no during the intercourse. So in what way could this really be rape, or is it just a misinterpretation? But again, it could be rape because maybe she only kissed him then, and then maybe he roofied her because she mentions only taking one drink and then being completely blacked out. Although, again, apparently it was mostly Coke in the vodka, and she probably shouldn't be taking drinks off people who made it without her watching them make it. But, you know, whatever. That could well be something that happened, but we don't know because, as you said, there's no clarity. It's not clear.
Sure.
So you can have an interest in someone. You can even be flirting with someone. You can go over to their house expecting to become intimate with that person, but that person has to have your consent in order to penetrate.
True, you need their consent. She also needs his consent, let's not forget. It's a two-way street. But she's giving him signals. She's giving him mixed signals, clearly, from what we seem to be discussing here. She's flirting, she's drinking with him, she likes him, she makes it very obvious. So, do you not think that makes him think he's in there? And again, she doesn't need to say yes in order to give consent. How many times have you had a one-night stand, or you've been with your boyfriend or girlfriend or what have you, and you have sex? You don't necessarily need to say yes. You just do it.
I mean, sorry for being graphic,
No,
but that's, and this is the...
We're talking about anal penetration here, and that's
exactly,
a
but
serious thing.
This isn't very graphic. And even then, it could well have been consensual. It could have been. It may not have been. We do not know. Even she didn't know for years until she filed the police report. Whatever her intentions were is beyond us. We cannot read her mind, neither can Blaine. Only she knows. But it is a little odd that 12 years afterwards, she files a police report. 12 years. When 3 days later, or a day after, she could have gone to the police, to a helpline, she could have got a rape kit, and they could have got him arrested at the height of his popularity. But she didn't. And if he did rape her, he may have raped other people. And let's be honest, if you don't get these people arrested, they will continually do it. To be honest, I can only say that we blame ourselves for letting these people get away with it because we didn't get them arrested. But hey, whatever.
I applaud you for just asking that question, because we need to create an environment where we are comfortable asking these questions, because there are some men who don't understand, and we need to just talk about this and make sure that we all are on the same page about what consent means.
I'm sorry, but men are currently in universities in America going through mandatory consent classes. It's drummed into men at an early age just how important consent actually is. We don't actually teach women consent very much. Thankfully, most women know what consent is anyway, but there's quite a few who don't. And they don't think it's possible to rape a man. In fact, a lot of feminists preach that men cannot be raped and preach that they cannot be victims of sexism or sexual abuse or even domestic abuse or anything like that, unless it's by another man. Then it's different. I believe I cut out a part of my video where I mention a real story, where a man that I work with was raped by an employee, and she does not believe he can be raped. How do I know it happened? She admits it happened to him, to a few people. So again, I think I've made my point clear. It's kind of annoying being told that it's only a male problem, rape, that only men can rape, that it's only men that seem to have this issue with consent, when it's pretty clear that women also have a problem. And it's a minority of women, it's a minority of men, but they make it out like it's a bigger problem than it actually is. Especially when you have stories like that, but I'm not going to get too angry at it.
And that there's consent at every stage.
It explained why she didn't go to the cops, because you always hear that, well, how come you didn't go to the police? I mean, if it was so bad, if he was rape, why didn't you go to the cops? Mm-hmm. She was trying to say, my emotions were muddied. I knew I'd been violated,
Actually, she didn't know. She had no idea. And also, the morning after, you again are lying here. He didn't run away. He didn't try and usher her out of the building if he had raped. He literally got up out of bed and was like, you have nice tits. As if something consensual had happened. And also, she didn't know if she was or not for years. At least that's what she says. So again, you're lying here. And yes, that could have been the reason why she didn't go to the police. But again, it might not. Maybe she knew she wasn't raped and decided that, I cheated on my boyfriend, no. And then years later has decided, for whatever reason, to say it was rape and get him arrested. But I do not know. I have no idea. You guys, on the other hand, pretty clear that you guys know what happened. You know what's happened. You're listening and believing this story. Well, I'm not. I'm willing to take both sides into account here, but you, not so much, because you're progressives and feminists. And remember, it's only the males that are the problem. You listen and believe the victims, unless they're men.
You can call it something weird happened. That was according to the boyfriend, but she was violated. Yet she didn't go to the cops because she liked this guy. And
that could mean a totally different thing. She might not have gone to the cops because it was consensual. It may have been. You do not know.
You create a narrative in your head. You create ways to deal with it. You create ways to grieve. And sometimes that looks like searching for things that you could have done differently. Mm-hmm.
How do you know? You're not a psychologist. I don't claim to be a psychologist. I don't know what was going through her head. You don't know what's going through her head. None of you know. And yet you're talking like you're experts.
And I think what she said is it's so true for a lot of women.
Again, how so? True for a lot of women? What about men? Well, they can't be victims, obviously. How do you know? You don't speak for women. You speak for yourself. And again, interestingly enough, they seem to know exactly what was going through Blaine's head. They know exactly what he was doing. They think, oh, he was obviously a rapist. He was just taking advantage of this woman. Well, you don't know that. Again, he could well have had a misinterpretation of her body language and other stuff. Maybe she did consent. We do not know. Maybe he did rape her. I don't know. But you guys, straight away, he's the rapist. Sorry, we don't even know his part of the story fully. At least not yet.
Well, especially her inner monologue, what she says the morning after she was doing a photo shoot. And she says that while she was sitting in the makeup chair, she was asking herself questions like, what did I do last night? Did I have sex with David Blaine, but I didn't want to? And just feeling really hazy and out of it.
That's what she claims. Now again, this could be her remembering things after the fact, which might not necessarily reflect reality, or maybe she's lying, or maybe that is what happened. And she has a very good memory of what happened 13 years ago. But again, I do not know. I'm trusting but verifying here. You're just listening and believing. You're taking all these little things and you know there are inconsistencies and just saying, oh yeah, victim, hey, this is just how victims work. Yeah, it's funny because even people who falsely accuse men are considered victims by feminists.
And just knowing that she didn't give consent, but she was into him, and I understand why it can be sort of a difficult conversation to have because consent is sort of it is a hard thing to define, but it is so incredibly important to define.
Yes, it is difficult. It's very difficult, and you guys muddying it, funnily enough, like it is, feminists have diluted consent, makes it even worse. And again, in the article, she actually doesn't know. That's what she says. That's what she claims. She is not sure. She's actually asking questions. She's not actually stating facts.
So a lot of people say, oh, do I have to ask, can I please kiss you here? We're not talking about that, but when someone says no, or when they are not able to give consent, when they are intoxicated, when they are asleep.
She only had one drink, and she claims that she has a high tolerance, yet hadn't drank for a week, and all of a sudden, all her tolerance is gone. Do you not think that's a little bit suspect? I do not have a high tolerance. I do not. I can handle it to the extent I won't vomit. I've only ever vomited once, and that was because of other things. After a week, I don't lose everything. You don't lose your whole tolerance after a week. It takes much longer than that. It would have to take months. She's basically gone through whole months of detoxing and losing her tolerance within the span of a week. And even then, on her own admission, that drink was mostly Coke. He didn't put much vodka in it. And again, she should have been in the room with him to make sure he wasn't potentially drugging her. He could have drugged her. We do not know. What she describes alludes to drugging, but we don't know because she doesn't actually clarify what she says. She's basically saying that, oh yeah, because I drank, I could not consent, which is a load of bullshit. If you've only drank one drink, you can clearly consent. I mean, I guess it depends on the alcohol. I guess if you have one drink of the strongest absinthe, you will be wasted. How wasted, I don't know. It depends on the person. But again, it doesn't add up.
Anything like that, then you don't have it. Consent can never be assumed. I think that's, it can be taken away, it can never be assumed.
Well, technically it is assumed, isn't it? They're giving you these signals or these verbal signals that they want it. And so you're assuming, yeah, of course, they want it. And then you do it. And then it turns out maybe halfway through, they don't want it. But again, they do not communicate this. And next thing you know, all hell breaks loose. You've considered a rapist now. As you said, it's not so clear cut, but apparently it is clear cut now.
I think that's an important thing to remember. And if heartbreaking stories like this come forward, cause us to have these difficult conversations and to raise a better generation when it comes to consent is just
implying as if all other previous generations had massive issues with consent. Right, okay. Honestly, from what I've seen from your movement, if some of it is to be believed, if all of it is to be believed, we don't really know if most of them are true or not. We know of a few that are true. The male feminists and male progressives, maybe even female ones, I definitely do believe that they also have their issues when in regards to sexual assault and rape. You don't really have a good idea about consent. You're putting yourselves in massive danger. And watch Uzlu's video, he explains that whole thing much better than I do. Basically, from an ideology that has a messed up idea of what consent is, I guess that would breed people who have a messed up idea of what consent is.
Par for the course when it comes to any sorts of relationship, intimate or otherwise, then good. Then that's the silver lining.
Yeah. That's a great point. I'm so glad you made it, because even if this sweet model who got into this thing, it's a high profile celebrity thing, model and the high profile guy, even if that doesn't turn out to bring a court case, or even if there are issues surrounding this that leave us short of where we'd like to see the conclusion result, I think Grace makes a great point. It helps incrementally anyway change the way we look at the way these sexual encounters happen without consent.
That was a terrible point. And even then, you do not know, I do not know, if consent was given or not. And again, if this is false, if this turns out to be false, which I guess by de facto it would be considered if he's found innocent, but I don't know how it works necessarily. How in any way does that bring the conversation forward? How does that make the conversation better? This just makes it worse, because this means we've got a whole new added element, surely. And how do you know she's sweet? You don't know this woman. I don't know this woman. Maybe she is sweet. She might not be. She might be a borderline possessive crazy person. I don't know. It's like they assume the most angelic, most holy intentions because she's a woman, and that alone, and she claims to be a victim of something, while Blaine is obviously the devil because he's been accused of rape. He's not even admitted to it. He's denied it. I mean, again, that doesn't mean he's telling the truth, but I don't go ahead and say that, oh, she's innocent, he's guilty. I don't. Why would I do such a thing? You know, at least with Harvey Weinstein, as I said before, and at least with Laura Loomer, we have evidence to show that they are that bad. They are genuinely disturbing people sexually. But with Blaine, we've got nothing but a word. With Alice Glass and Ethan Kath and Jessica Adams and Twiggy Ramirez, all we've got is their word. You can give me links to documentaries all you want. That alone is not evidence. If you're just talking about it in a documentary with no evidence of a story that you alluded to, you didn't actually say it was him until recently, then that's not proof, mate. Sorry. You have to go to the police with this and show them the actual evidence that you may or may not have. But whatever, guys, let's move on. We're near the end now. I'm kind of getting on with myself.
And so the consent issue, anyway, starts to be discussed more again.
Mm-hmm. It is constantly being discussed in a one-sided manner. I don't know how many times we have to have this conversation.
All of these things on top of each other help us do that. Just looking back to, over the past year with Roger Ailes, Bill O'Reilly, the Donald Trump Access Hollywood tape, all of these things, I see this momentum.
They keep bringing the fucking Donald Trump thing up. Everybody knows he did not assault anybody. Anybody who can say that they let you do it is somehow some non-consensual act is a lot of fucking bullshit, and they're just agenda-pushing cunts. I mean, these are the same people that would defend Bill Clinton, because all the stuff that happened with him apart from the cheating, which did happen, is all just hearsay. Yet, when it comes to Trump and it comes to O'Reilly and Ailes, because of the different ideology, oh, they're obviously guilty is charged, right?
And it's allowing us to have these conversations and just, I mean,
and these are progressive conversations, and this is
clearly progressive. Only women are the victims, only men are the perpetrators. We must believe everything every so-called victim says, and we must automatically assume guilt. Yeah, that's so progressive. And I like how apparently we don't have these conversations when we have this conversation every single time anything like this happens. Yeah. Honestly, if you guys are leading this conversation, which you kind of are, I don't like the ideas that you guys are presenting here.
A progressive network, so I want to celebrate, even when it comes on the heels of something awful, that we can have these.
Oh, now you're just flating yourself. Jesus Christ, you narcissists. Anyway, that's the end of the video. What more can I say? Trust but verify. We do not know what the hell is going on with these things, and they're right, there is some kind of momentum going on. And funnily enough, most of it comes from their camp against people in their camp. I mean, I don't know where Blaine is on the spectrum. He probably doesn't even have politics. He's probably apolitical. I don't know. I don't know. Who cares? There is a momentum going on. There is no coincidence that any of this shit is being publicised now. Yes, that is the oldest example because she reported it a year later, yet all the investigations happening now. Usually in a year, there's like a court case, but whatever's happening in Scotland Yard is taking its sweet time. But anyway, it's been your boy. And until next time.